It's like going for coffee. It's your morning coffee with your friend, your digital friend, Adrian Pocobelli, artist reporter. This is the Artist Journal, October 2nd, 2022. And my friends, I was fooled. I was fooled by this artist. I thought this was actually just a normal artist. It's AI. A different take on AI. We will return to who is this? Ultramarine or something? Part of a series called Ultramarine Dream by someone who I think is anonymous. We will look at that. Just a couple of things. Just go over what people are saying out there. Hey there, Pocobelli. Is there a Tezos community in Berlin? I actually thought Tezos came out of Berlin. I mean, you see the logo. That's how the streets are. Like it's kind of like that's a letter that they use. So I thought there was like a Tezos. I thought it was based out of Berlin. I don't know. Even Polkadot. Polkadot. By the way, a little known fact. I mean, I went down the rabbit hole on Polkadot, the cryptocurrency. That is probably one of the most exciting cryptocurrencies. I'm not here to shill it. I don't own any. Some are locked away, not many. But just so you know, that Gavin guy who co-founded Ethereum, who was like basically programmed or created the scripting language, what is that called? Solidity. Of course, he's behind Polkadot. We all know that. I think they're based out of the Web3 Foundation. I think that's in Berlin. And just so you know, I mean, deep down the rabbit hole of many interviews listening to this guy, the difference between Polkadot is his vision, as far as I understand it, and I am not a tech expert, I have some understanding. It's going to be feeless. Like that is it can provide security where you don't need to charge fees. Okay, it's a base zero layer, and I think that's how it's being structured. So that is why it's like it can provide security without the fees, is my understanding. And again, that was after like a 2-hour interview of many interviews I watched. I only saw him say that once. But if you want alpha, and who knows, these things Polkadot could go to $2 for the next 7 years. Okay, so definitely not financial advice or anything, but just interesting because fees, I mean, if you can just get rid of fees, that trumps everything. So just something, we are kind of without question, we're in the crypto ecosystem. That's how this is all taking place. So I did rent a movie theater at the back of a bar at Zed Bar to put on a show in February. I don't even know what I'm going to show yet. And I just did it because it was cheap and easy. I know the bartender there, Constantine. He's actually given me a few shows. I was like, maybe we should do this. My girlfriend was saying you should put this huge collection of NFTs you've gathered, some of them on display. So sooner or later, I told Sharingan to message me. Maybe we'll do something in October, time permitting. But I'm sure one way or another we can all hang out, have a coffee IRL to discuss our favorite topic. Paul Sims is back with another interesting comment. I used to collect exclusively on ETH, but over the past year, I've moved to 90% Tez art. Yeah, I totally relate. I mean, I only bought one thing on ETH because that was all I could afford. I enjoy the act of collecting, and I can often pick up 10 times as many pieces on Tez compared to ETH. I mean, that is the real attraction, isn't it? And not go down in art quality, right? I have a few Sol pieces. Interesting. I never went down that rabbit hole myself. We're going to see Red Rum's actually Genesis work on Sol, but haven't bought on Sol in 6 months at least. Interesting. Excluding ETH also helps my sanity by narrowing my pool of purchases. True. When I was buying on all chains, the choices were mentally overwhelming. It's true. If you just keep it to cheap and easy, that's what Object. I mean, again, I keep saying how Object deserves a lot of credit. Okay, they are kind of invisible, and their simple notification and follow mechanism for art, to me, like, I don't know the last time I used Facebook. I stopped using it before I came to Object, but I'm just saying, like, that, I mean, what is Facebook? It's sharing images. What is Instagram? It's sharing images. What is this? It's sharing created images. Okay, and so that's the real disruptor. If Mark Zuckerberg, in my opinion, had any brains, and I'm sure he has some, don't get me wrong, I would be doing everything I can to acquire Object, and then I'd make it multi-chain. Okay, because right now, finally on this front, I don't know of an ETH product like Object, like on OpenSea. Can you follow followers, and do you get notifications every time an artist, like you get it on Super Rare, but that's just specific to the Super Rare platform. And so that's not enough. Like I want to OpenSea where I can follow all my favorite ETH artists, let's say, and then get notifications. Maybe that exists. Okay. But again, they make it look easy at Object. They're very, very smart. Nice comment from Purple Drank, now known as Drank Frazetta. Do y'all know who Frank Frazetta is? We'll take a look here in a second. When you get mentioned on Pocobelli's Artist Journal, well, cheers and thanks. And that is very encouraging. And look at all those likes and everything. So I totally appreciate that, guys. And while we're on the topic of multi-chain and Purple Drank, or Drank Frazetta, good morning, my friends. Part 6 is out. So this one, you got to be a little quicker on, so don't miss it. He's keep your notifications on Purple Drank there, or keep following him. You got like a few hours to go here. He put out a tweet at 6:40 this morning, which is 3 hours ago. I record these at like 9:30 in the morning, just so you know, Berlin time. 11 hours left to pick up part 6, and it's a classic, as all the others are. Let's look at Frank Frazetta very quickly, because we've been talking about comic art. Frank Frazetta is very famous. Savage Sword of Conan. He did these covers. What I like about Purple Drank's feed is he has a lot of comics in there, which, again, I worked in a comic store / used bookstore for they kind of started me early there at age 13, and I worked till I was maybe 17. It was a great job, and because then I could just buy even more comics. So Frank Frazetta is pretty class. I mean, this is maybe one of the most famous, kind of this sci-fi meets barbarian. It's kind of like these archetypes come out in science fiction. Like this is almost like an archetype, because it's sort of like this barbarian in space, and it's kind of a weird mix, but it just kind of feels right. One could argue even with these kind of sci-fi monsters. So who knows, intimations of a future or a past somewhere out there. So that's Frank Frazetta. You should know him. 1950s. He died, I think, about 10 years ago. Let's just bring up Frank Frazetta. 82. Let's just see when he died. Yeah, 2010. There you go. Illustrator dies at 82. Helped define comic book heroes. Yeah, he was just a great, great, great illustrator. Continuing on. Okay, so we were talking about Alex Gray, and Morlacos put out this Pepe, Albert Hoffman, the creator of LSD. And I just wanted to show another Alex Gray influence, really classic, beautiful work by Morlacos as usual. And we're looking at Alex Gray, probably the most famous by far, quote unquote, visionary artists, I think is what they call them. And this is his portrait of Albert Hoffman. And you can see, we were talking about Terence McKenna the other episode, and, pretty classic stuff. Here I think you have we're talking about the Beats and a Former and the hippies, the counterculture. I think, at first I thought this was Terence McKenna here with the hat, but I think it's Allen Ginsberg. And you see John Lennon. I don't know if that's George Harrison. It doesn't look like all the Beatles made it. Robert Crumb. Okay, so you're starting to connect some dots. William Burroughs, the counterculture. Okay, I'm not sure who this is. This looks like Princess Leia, so you have to ask an expert. And of course, Alex Gray's trademark translucent skin, he's really kind of, obviously, he created and mastered this style. Usually the creators are the masters. Anyway, and just more heroes of, I think, the Shulgins, and I'm not a total experts on everybody here. It'd almost be scary if I was, but anyways, and we'll go back to Morlacos' work here. So you see this thing here, this flying thing, and then you see this flying thing here. So anyways, obviously a direct reference, but totally makes it his own in his own style. So very cool. Gabby Walter, remember we were talking about this. So there's some follow-up news here. So selling the NFT where you get the painting, and that's sold. It's an extra special day for me. I just sold my first physical painting through object.com. The Secret in Her Eyes sold for 230 XTC. Thank you, Lagojo7, for your support. So very interesting. I'm so happy right now. Thank you. So this is interesting because this is not what we're talking about with selling a picture as the NFT. He's basically using the digital marketplace to shop or to sell the painting. And so I think that's incredibly interesting because it's otherwise, where do you go with your physical paintings if you don't have a gallery? And most artists don't have galleries, like 95% of them. Where do you go? Okay, so it's kind of an interesting thing. I mean, one could imagine this could happen more. Moving on, congratulations to Gabby there. Cool work. So just following this kind of cross-chain narrative, Red Rum. My Genesis on form function is now live. Age of 1,000 Eyes wait you, reserve at 10 Solana. I am very, very excited for this new adventure. The Red World will spread on Solana, so committing a little bit. It looks really great, I have to say. Hopefully this doesn't crash my mic here. So pretty cool. So nice Genesis piece from Red Rum. Age of 1,000 Eyes, 1 of 1 on Solana. So just kind of fun to watch that. So let's go back here. Just this AI artist, Pauly Jojo sent this to me. He sent a couple of artists. We're going to look at another one later on, another AI artist. What surprised me on this was I didn't realize it was AI, and I was like, oh, this is a really good illustrator. And I was looking at some of the other work. I was like, this is a pretty good illustrator. This one's not AI, clear that it's AI at all, even though it says here, again, raw AI. So this term, which seems to come from the artists themselves, I really like this term because it seems to suggest to me, and correct me out there if I'm wrong, it seems to suggest to me that this is AI that is not tampered with. Okay, and back to this, I think, clown vamp idea and that I kind of jumped off of, this idea that maybe it's better, or that there's an aesthetic category or area, space, an aesthetic space where we might think of some AI art that is not tampered with is perhaps in some way superior. Not the fact that it's not edited. So again, a beautiful work here. Look at this. Look at the color. I mean, seriously, you could just take the gradient alone here, throw everything else out, and start from scratch some beach scene, and it'd probably be pretty nice because this gradient is so beautiful, right? Continuing on, another one. So if you look close, you can see the wheel here. Then you see the AI. So again, this looks like synthwave meets, these kind of 1950s travel posters or something. Ultramarine Dream. Just wanted to point them out, and here you can see kind of, if you go on this one, you'll see there's a palm tree coming out of the car right here, if you can see that. See, it's coming right out of the car. Raw AI. So some people might actually enjoy that. I mean, for me, before I realized it was AI, I thought, oh, that looks like a mistake. It was all going so well, I was thinking to myself, as far as this artist, and I was like, what's this about? And then I was like, is this AI? And then I figured it out. Look at this sun, though. Like, I'm kind of meeting this whole raw AI thing halfway. I say, okay, here we could debate it. Okay, is it surreal? It's just a palm tree coming out of a car. But here, let's just, for the sake of argument, say, okay, we don't want this one because it's coming out of the car. It screws it up, for the sake of argument. These here, it looks a little screwed up. The hubcaps. The sun, maybe we keep, right? I go, that's an original sun. And maybe we keep the sun. So I'm kind of back to this idea of maybe it's better to edit the AI. And there's more, it's, as we say with the design. There are right and wrong answers, but there is more than one right answer here. So I'm not saying this is how it has to be, but these are the thoughts that cross my mind as I kind of look at this. I go, ooh, it's so simple, the shape here, but sometimes simple is revolutionary. Okay, like I would never dream of doing a sun like this, and that's what makes me so excited. Okay, so anyway, so just an AI artist that Polly Jojo sent. He sent another one a few days ago, which I finally got to. Let's get to this Henry Union business, though. I've never profiled a work by, I think his name is, let me just check the name properly here, John, a lot of J's there. He is probably one of the most, old school, original OGs of the whole Tezos scene. I mean, he's got a huge market. This is probably one of my favorite works that he's done. I wish I could have picked this up. Now it's like, I think it's 250. I love this work. Actually, he does these trademark windows and these window still lives, which he's basically famous for on this platform. I mean, the demand, he sells like, I don't want to load up too many of these, like 591 Tez, like this is typical for him, another alarm clock. So you can kind of see quickly, I should be looking at this on object so it doesn't crash my computer, but a really, really nice work here. I just think it's cool. I would have loved to pick that up. Let's look at the history here. Wow, so did they all just go for 250? I'm not sure if that's right. Listing, collect for 250 Tez. So yeah, I mean, all to say, if you don't know who this is, like I don't have any John work. I want to get like just one of those few editions of 1,000 just to kind of round out my collection, because it is a whole if you don't have him in your collection of, just as far as the history of Tezos. Here's a Sky Goodman that came out, which I thought was kind of interesting. You can still get it, I think. His work sells out pretty quick. Actually, by the time you watch this, you probably won't be able to get it. So just this kind of like what I like to call digitalia, just kind of like digital vibes. I mean, he uses a few different tools created in virtual reality, textured with video feedback, rendered in Blender. I'm a big fan of exporting in digital and just using multiple tools, not just one. Huge, huge, huge fan. That's when I decided in my own mind that the iPhone 6S was the first art phone, because it was the first phone with time that you had multiple apps and you could export really easily, go back and forth, and the world is your oyster at that point. So I really like how he uses several tools. I think that's, to me, it's just exciting as an artist. A work by Echo, who's also Sabato, so just a glitch ROM along this Sega Genesis kind of environmental theme, I think. So just kind of interesting. Echo the Dolphin, Extinction. Okay. Now I think this is also, Polly Jojo sent this to me yesterday, just a geometric artist that I'd never seen before, excuse me. Kind of interesting, kind of like a Bridget Riley op art with some nice colors. It's a nice piece. You know what I like also, which is kind of maybe sounds simplistic, I really like the margin. It's like this light green, and it really just helps make the piece it just makes it nice. I don't know, it just gives it some room to breathe because it's a pretty complex piece. If you imagine getting rid of the light green margin, it's like a passepartout on a frame, that kind of thing that goes around the image in a big frame. I think you call that a passepartout. A little bit of French here today. So anyways, just an interesting artist, Kato, that I'd never seen before. Again, thank you, Polly Jojo, for sending that. We see similarities here with, I'm trying to remember the name of the artist, but we've seen an artist who is similar with the geometric stuff. The name escapes me right now. Yeah, especially here. So interesting. You could put them in the same room. I wish I could remember the name of that other artist. It's not loading up. We're not going to worry about it. Atelier 407, Friend Zone. So another work for the Henry Union event. Let's just look at that here. Kind of looks like that other piece we were looking at the other day, but maybe just like a remix. Let me see. So we have some interesting 8Bidoo work here. Kind of reminds me of this, right? We started just the other day with this work. So there's this one, and we go here. So just like a variation, really, but again, almost a series that you could put side by side or something like that. So Atelier 407. Did this sell out? No, 70 to go. So you can pick that up. This is another artist I just kind of saw on Twitter. I didn't know anything about them. We'll see if this loads up. Sort of having issues a little bit. The internet. So just kind of an interesting, strange video work that I thought we could just touch on. Zach Lloyd. Never really heard. Oh, you always want to kind of bring in new blood here, because if we always talk about the same 10 artists, well, that's not cool, is it? And you guys will, it's not going to be as exciting for everybody else too. So also part of the Henry Union. Let's just kill that. Plants, Plantz, another artist. So what's kind of cool about this is you're seeing all these artists kind of come out of the woodwork with this Henry Union thing. So it is great for discovery. And here you see just these different kinds of plants. Interesting kind of pixelated plant work. Very interesting. What is it called? Cactus and succulents. See, this is the Tezos logo I was telling you about. A lot of street signs in Berlin or in Germany have that kind of look, or have that character. Okay. Which is why I thought, oh, maybe Tezos is out of Germany, and I thought I saw something about it being in Berlin. Anyways, here's Pixel Fool. We were looking, have we looked at Pixel Fool yet? I think we did. Very, very strong market. One of the kind of top, what I call in the animated abstract genre, and really, really strong market. 333. I was like, oh, I have all day to pick this up, but maybe I should just get it now. I think it was $6, 6 Tezos. And it's already sold out like an hour later. It was 666, 333. That's insane. So these people like John and Pixel Fool, who have been around the platform and have just like 1 million followers, you see how powerful that is. I don't know if they sold all 333, but if they did, that's 1,800 Tezos. Okay. GIF generated by custom software by Pixel Fool. Okay. Really, really nice piece. A little detail that I like here is this kind of flashing thing with the red following the blue. And I just like how that's a little detail that it's flashing different colors. I just like that detail. So you see why Pixel Fool has a lot of collectors. Feels is another animated abstract artist who does animated abstract works. Who is very popular. Depression Rainbow. There's always a bit of a depressing title. So this is a new work. We'll see how it did. Again, these kind of old school Tezos artists. October 1st. Yeah, 7 for 130. Let's just see how many are left. Feels work. Okay, so nothing. So already sold like 3 of them though for 130, minted yesterday. So Feels has a very, very strong market. 130 for each one. That's $200 each for edition. So, okay, so continuing on, Side Hustle put out a kind of a celebration piece. And we know Side Hustle from his cubes, Pixel Nachos. So just kind of an interesting, kind of fun celebration. Hen Forever. Another one from Kristen Roos, Buy for 20, edition of 100. Is that the mint price? No, the mint price is 5. So even still, 500 Tezos, boom, for Kristen Roos, for another animated abstract created using Daniba Ultra Paint and Deluxe Paint 4. We didn't look at this yesterday. We looked at another one. I feel like we looked at another one. We looked at this one yesterday. So here's a color one. An illustrator who I'd never heard of, Gali Putra, is selling these kind of like in the psychedelic illustration camp, like Uyo and Skitchism, and there's a couple of more. So just an interesting work for one Tez edition of 100, part of the Henry Union. This was just a weird one. Berlin interior wall. So maybe Trapers is in Berlin. So just kind of an interesting kind of illustration with a little bit of animation, someone spray painting. Just interesting. Almost looks like some sort of blotter thing going on with this graph paper in the background. Another cloudnoise.pixel. Interesting. Like, to me, these look like the glitch ROM shapes that are being kind of turned into abstractions. That's what it looks like to me. It looks like glitch ROM, like those Nintendo ROM, like that Haiti does and that we saw Sabato or Echo do there. So Cloud Noise released this. Love these two colors together. I think we've even talked about these colors together before. I use these colors together. I'd dig it up here. I have a screen memory work that is, maybe I'll dig it up another time. It's blue and orange. So anyways, I love these colors. So I actually think, as simple as this is a pretty nice abstract work, in my opinion, for one Tezos. Again, great color. And that's all they have here. So I don't know if they're just starting, which is totally possible. Visual artist, creative coder. Another hen. Almost have too many works in here. So I'm trying to keep these things, I'm going to try and shorten these a little bit because I know you guys don't have all day to watch new images here, but just kind of, there's a lot out there right now. Some days it's quiet and we'll keep those videos short. So just interesting here from Amanda Homum and Thurium, sold out. New work from Adelia. Again, you don't get the notification with Adelia now, so you probably have to be in our Discord to get the notification. I missed it again, and she's kind of got this WhatsApp. She calls it What's Up. This is part of our new pop series. Now, this is part of the Picante. It's almost like there's a side festival, the Picante Challenge here, she calls it. So you're seeing a bunch of artists do Picante works, like red hot, and she's eating hot sauce and, jalapeno peppers. So anyway, what did she sell this for? $3, and now it's going for $6.99 2 days later. Let's see what else. Rat Cloaksy has an auction. Again, his painting style with these finger paintings, phone paintings, whatever we want to call them, continues to just turn my head. Very interesting. He's continuing with this kind of like, it reminds me of Cubism in the sense that you kind of have more than one time scale, is one way of looking at it. Like you could imagine the leg is here and then 10 seconds later the leg is here, and that kind of is reminiscent of Cubism. Or it's like the Metamorphosis where people are literally surrealistically growing another leg. There's also this kind of, what that person yesterday was calling the Nightcrawler figure, which is almost kind of useful for our purposes. Kind of reminds me of the Invisible Man. Again, is this a literary illusion? So again, a very beautiful work, moody, and a lot going on, and slightly haunted. What are we at here? Already at 42 Tezos, and you still have another 10 hours to go, so this could go for a pretty penny. Speaking of 3 legs, I thought we'd bring this in because there's a Lorna Mills with 3 legs, and she releases a lot of work. Most of it is not family friendly, so I just picked the family friendly. I don't know if this is family friendly. One could make the argument it's not. Lucky Jinbo, you can buy for 15, edition of 25. New Kurt Hustle collective. So there's just like, again, this is 24 hours, guys, of like kind of like interesting work to comment on here. I'm racing through it. So he has this donutter in a boxing ring, and if you get that, I believe you get the phone screensaver, CRT Amigos. So it seems to be a new series, CRT Amigos. And my favorite, I think, was this guy, the Garbage Patch Perry, almost like Cabbage Patch Kids, but Garbage Patch Perry going around in circles here. So always fun at the Kurt Hustle Collective, and always interesting, always fun. Hopefully a commercial. He put out, I should have brought this up, maybe I'll bring it up tomorrow, this airline, DBO Airlines. I can't wait for that to be released, if that's going to be released. This is an AI artist that Polly Jojo sent me also a couple of days ago. Look for one Tezos. I might have picked this up. and one of ones for one Tezos that are pretty interesting. I mean, and you see how many there are. And you see a lot are still for sale here. I think I did a recent, so there are a lot. Sometimes the white hoods are a little unsettling. I mean, I don't know if the artist kind of understands the reference, depending, like, who knows where they're from. At first it looks like nuns, right? So it's like I always say, assume the best. That's what all the great coaches, the Brian Tracy's, for all of you that are having issues, say, with just dealing with people, Brian Tracy is your guy. We'll bring up Brian Tracy in a future episode, but he has some great, just practical phronesis is the Greek word. Practical wisdom, how to deal with people. Brian Tracy, the great Brian Tracy. Why are we talking about Brian Tracy? Anyways, here is an AI artist who is interesting with really cheap one-of-ones. A little unsettling, the white hoods, like especially here. So I kind of recoil from buying that, even though it's like, but I think I picked up this one because it reminded me of a Magritte, and I don't think there's anything, again, assume the best. That's why we're talking about Brian Tracy. This kind of has a Magritte vibe to it. So I picked this up. A Tezos, cool, and not too controversial in a way that I don't want to be. Here is Fernand times Pierre Auguste by Danielle King. We've been following Danielle King's AI works, where she's just doing simple mixes of artists. So again, Fernand Léger and Renoir. I find these really interesting. I just find them very interesting because you're starting to see like art styles that totally work in the modern context, like in terms of modern art, let's call it 1900 to 1930 for lack of a better term, I find her work very interesting to watch. I'm not buying it, but I'm enjoying it. Joe Rogan's dad, it turns out, has a knack for fashion design. Who knew? So some more AI fashion here. Very interesting, right? Again, like if I was a fashion designer, I would be all over this AI thing. And I would be concerned, right? Because what happens when, all of a sudden Joe Rogan's dad is going to be, we're going to hear about Paris Fashion Week featuring Joe Rogan's dad, right? So just very interesting. Look at the shoes here. Look at just like this interesting thing. What if you had the Nike logo like that, or whatever that is? And look at the materials. Look at the bagginess here and the tightness here. It's just fascinating. AI fashion. And a couple of works, probably put too many works in this episode. I'm going to probably draw it down, but this is by I Am the Astra, just a physical work, ink on paper, as an NFT. I do like to just profile these things just so that we're aware. How much is that going for? Not cheap, $25.55. Was that the mint price? Mint price was $15.55. And now actually also by I Am the Astra, $25.55 for the rest. Okay, so that is matrimonio, so marriage, pretty cool work. Not to forget to talk about the work. Good looking work. And another physical work done on Tezos. Did I bring up? And then another, kind of racing through these a little bit, so apologies to the artists, by Rialt T, so you can just find that on Twitter and on Taya or Object, and 6th issue of Sloth is now out. So just another NFT magazine. Okay, fascinating, featuring artists. So I'm going to let that load up on its own. Thank you for joining me today. Until next time, take care.